everybody. Welcome to the Community Podcast. On today's show, we welcome TFN member as well as owner of BikeBac. They're a company that will get your bike back. It's a tracker device that you stick under the seat, right, Brian?
Yeah, so what we do at BikeBac is we make an affordable tracker for bikes, kind of like an AirTag for your bike, and it can go under your water bottle cage or under your seat.
Yeah, that's wicked, man. It's probably a long story, but I want to hear it. So, what made you want to do this? I know you have like other training and like you went to school for other things you told me about. Like, we'll talk about that later, but what made you do this?
Yeah, so it all started back in 2019. I was living in Whistler at the time, and I was just sick of always seeing and hearing about friends' bikes going missing, and no one really having a good way to find it after it's gone missing. They would just disappear. So what we wanted to do is create some way of being able to track a bike after it disappears, so that you can ideally get your bike back, which was the whole idea. Um, Originally, we didn't even have this initial product idea. We kind of created something that was more using RFID and a bunch of other complex systems to track bikes as they entered bike shops. And then AirTags came out, and we kind of went, damn, wish we could just make that. But that was a number of years ago now.
Yeah, and then you found out that like you could do it with AirTags, right? And then what did you contact a supplier and like, let's get this shit rolling? Really? Like,
so what it came down to was, after we saw that AirTags had come to market, and we really wanted to do something just like that, but for bikes. But there was no way for us to do it, and there was no way feasibly that, from a commercial standpoint, for us to go and invest in trying to compete at that level with Apple. Luckily, so what we ended up doing was kind of putting the company to sleep and going about our normal lives until last year, when we realized that we could go and pitch Apple our product idea to actually build a tracker that uses the same network as AirTags and a lot of the same technology as AirTags, but making a bike-focused product for that. So that's what we ended up going to do. Had the let's get the band back together call with the other co-founders and owners, and just about a year later, here we are. A few months in, quite a few trackers sold, and moving along.
Nice. And like, when did you take the leap to make this like your one thing to do? Like,
yeah, so really, really good question. I At the time, because we put the company to sleep, I just jumped into well, one, there was a few pivotal movements that happened. One is I was leaning more into sales on the corporate side of things, and more B2B stuff, kind of boring software and services. It was a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't a whole lot of passion behind the actual product itself. Um, and that also had the opportunity for me to actually move out of Whistler down to Vancouver and ultimately Port Moody. And what we found is, as we wanted to create this product, I was working on it and doing my day job, helping lead a sales team at a large software company out of the U.S. And once we got the thumbs up from Apple, and we realized how much work really had to be done to make sure that we built out the whole company essentially from scratch again. It was about really April of last year of 2023 that we started doing things again, and then it quickly became evident to me that for this to take off, and at the rate that it needed to take off, and everything that needed to be done, that I needed to jump in both feet forward, both feet first, and make it my sole thing. So in June of last year, June 1st was I left my day job. Pretty scary jump when you make that decision, and started doing BikeBac full time. And then that allowed us to actually release the product in August of that year. So from really starting like the foundational work on it in April to releasing a product in August, a lot had to be done. And it really just needed full-time resources on it in order to build up that steam.
Yeah, we've seen it since we moved in here. I mean, like you were here at Site B before TFN was. You were like the one Site B member that we ever walked in on. It was you. Was this the place you came to as soon as you basically dove right in?
So I think there's something interesting about that story as well, which is making sure that as you're having discussions with people, and if you've got something you're passionate about, talk to people about it. Tell them the challenges that you're running into, because you'll never know who you're going to end up meeting
Yeah.
and how they're going to be able to help. So what ended up happening was towards the end of August and mid-August, and we had launched the product. We were waiting for stock to arrive so that we could fulfill all of the pre-orders that we had. Uh, but we had nowhere to put product
Yeah.
or nowhere to really operate that part of the business out of. It had just been being done out of a spare bedroom up until that point. And so we actually had to solve this problem. And luckily enough, Site B and Brave Brewing, there was a connection there with my wife that actually worked at Brave Brewing, and through meeting people like Chris Peacock uh, at that business, Extraction. He understands the tech world. I had the opportunity to sit down with him and and kind of share some of the problems that we were going to have. And he graciously invited us to start building out our operations, and just the end of a hallway at Site B here. But that was really what we needed for a home, and also one to get me out of the
Yeah.
house and somewhere to work every day. So yeah, having TFN move in was fantastic, because for a very long time it was uh, hustling away in the warehouse with a few other people, but now everyone else has come and we're able to bounce ideas off of other people that have approached other problems before, and they're able to share solutions, and it's been a really good opportunity from that perspective as well.
Yeah, that story is just proof how much community is valuable. Like just talking to people, meeting people, and getting out there and networking. How like our whole industry that I'm involved with, co-working, that's all it is. And I mean, it shows how we moved into here was straight up like a community reach out of being like, hey, you guys want to collaborate together, and it's just there's more of that. I think more so many people think that there's more everybody's competition, and that was like the past ideology of business per se. And now I think it's more people are open to working with others and helping each other out if it's good for the community. And us bringing people here with TFN, you already being here, Chris Peacock is like absolutely amazing, and he is all about a community as well. The first conversation we ever had with him when we came over here to meet with him was just about that and how big it is for startups to have things like this. I mean, like since we've been here and you've been here, we've seen you grow when it comes to like how much product you got to get out the door, and who the people that have come to help you is people that are just you reach out to the community and they brought people in for you. You know, like that's so much nicer when you can trust those people too, and like you know them personally, instead of I know you're having a hard time hiring when it comes to hiring remote people, because you never know if they're the perfect person for the job, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the big thing with it is just starting those conversations, and co-working is a great catalyst to those conversations. But even for people that are just sitting at home, like come to events, talk to people, share your problems more so than your successes, and you will find that people are just there to offer help, and you can take what you want and leave the rest, right? Like, you don't have to take every suggestion that you get from people, but definitely at least you'll be getting suggestions and offers to help.
Yeah, and as a startup or a small business owner, there's always questions you're gonna have, and you're always gonna be wondering something. It's like you're always learning. But I find that having a co-working space, there's always somebody at that space that has gone through what you're going through at that moment. So it answers your questions a lot quicker than it would be if you're trying to figure this stuff out for yourself. It's always better when people have gone through what you've are going through, or at the same time are going through it, so you can brainstorm together on how to fix something. But it's just like, even like we've reached out, I'll talk about this now too. You're going to help us redesign the studio a bit. You're finding out just through talking that like you have a film school background as well. So that's like part of what reason like I want to talk about that is like from going from that to sales to this is sales still, but this is running your own business. There's a lot going on there, but you're so like multiverse and multi-talented in different industries. Like it's like you have this knowledge that people might not even know that you have unless you're talking to those people, right?
Exactly, exactly, and I think with that as well is I found what worked really well for my life up until this point was just trying a bunch of different stuff until I figured out what worked best for me, or what where my talents really shone. But throughout that, you end up building all those different skills. So as long as you're passionate about what you're doing, but you may not think that it's your forever job yet, or you don't know if it's going to be the rest of your life, don't let that hold you back from going and doing it, so that you can actually you're going to learn and build skills that'll help you in everything else. So I used to always joke with my team at my more at my previous roles, that were more of a corporate setting, where everyone was 30% older than me at that corporate sales job, and my peers would be sitting in a room and they'd all have masters in business, and then I'm that young guy, the youngest guy in the room, with a degree in film. So it's like but what those types of things taught me was like effective storytelling and understanding who you're trying to actually create content for, or who you're trying to communicate with, and a lot of that has helped even in my own business, not just in the sales side, but in the marketing side and communicating with others side. But then outside of the film degree part, like, I thought IT was going to be my calling for the longest time. So I just dove into the technical end of IT, and that ended up, I loved it, and it was fantastic, and that ended up getting me opportunities of working for software companies that then allowed me to bridge that gap and try sales in that capacity, because I'd never thought of that before.
No.
Then jumping into sales, I'd always run up my own businesses, but never had the confidence to go and jump fully onto my own thing. But being able to work at other businesses kind of shown me uh, how much work is actually required, and that I do have a lot of the tools that are required, and that I know which tool to grab when I need to, or at least know how to ask other people that have been in those situations
Yeah.
what tool I should be grabbing, to give me the confidence to actually go out and build something like BikeBac, without that safety net
Yeah,
of employment.
it's evolving and learning, and I think that's the most successful people in the world are the people that aren't stuck in one thing. And it's I feel like this. I don't want to crap on the school system, but they definitely make kids feel like they got to know what they want to do for the rest of their life right out of high school, go to college, find that career, stick to it till you retire. And it seems like I know, like, besides pro wrestling, what I didn't like the same stuff at 20 years old, 18 years old as I do now. If I was doing the same thing I thought I would want to do as I was doing back then, I probably, like, I would be hating life right now. And it's just, I think that evolving, changing is becoming more accepted in society and actually promoted. Like, it's like guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, like he will push that. Like you could be 40, 50 and you finally find your calling because you tried different things and saw what you were really good at and what you actually like doing, but all those things that you might have not liked doing, there was traits and things you like just learned from those industries that you could take into the one industry you actually like. And I think more and more people are starting to figure that out. You're seeing more remote workers. You're seeing more like people trying new things. You're seeing more podcasters because it's something. It's just you're just seeing more people try things that they might excel at and have fun doing. Because you're gonna get better work out of people if they're having fun doing it. If they
Exactly.
hate their job, I would hate to run a job or like a business that everybody that works for me is like yeah, they'll work for the paycheck, but they have no passion for what they're selling or doing. You're never going to get a good work ethic out of that, right? So it's finding that balance, and I guess it's probably something that would be a plus in your industry is finding people that are passionate about cycling, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I think a big part of all of that is as you do more things, you build more self awareness as to what actually fills your cup in terms of what you're doing.
Yeah,
And one allows you to lean into the things that motivate you most. So for us, like cycling is a huge motivator because of everything that it's done for us from a physical aspect, but community, and then also the mental state of being able to get on your bike. And if you're not thinking about biking, you're going to be on the ground because you fell. So you can't
yeah,
be worried about the business that day. It's a really good way to disconnect from mental health in that side of things. But then also you'll start to build that self awareness, but also you'll be able to build organizations that everyone has the same values and goals, and build really strong teams in that sense. So that's one of the things that I think helped us as a founding team is we shared a lot of values. Now we don't always have all the same ideas, and we're all very different personality types, but because we have the shared values, because we have the self-awareness of what's important to each of us and why, we're able to articulate that and work together really effectively to be able to bring fresh ideas to the table, to be able to execute on what needs to be executed on, but also to build something that we're really proud of at the end of it.
yeah,
And as you're looking for roles, I think as you build more of that in yourself, you'll find that through interviewing and through applying for job positions, um, you'll be able to not just be that chameleon or golden retriever personality is something that I've always struggled with, which is you hear a job and you're just going to sell yourself into the job position and then sell the people interviewing you on why they should hire you
yeah,
versus it being what you actually really want to be doing and the stuff that actually gets you to where you want to be. So when we go out and try to hire, we're trying to find individuals that understand their own values as well. So that way we can work with them to build roles that uh, uh, fill their cup and
yeah.
make sure that they feel motivated and confident in what they're doing every day as well.
Yeah, I think it's hard because it's that a lot of the times people looking for work are desperation. Like it's desperation. Well, either they've been laid off somewhere else, so they take those jobs that they know that they're not going to like, but they need a paycheck, and then they get stuck, or it's like good pay, but just they hate the work. But it's just like it's such a hard thing to do. But like I encourage people, as stressed out as I've been as a small business owner and trying to grow it, the flexibility and just the freedom of working for yourself, but also like being passionate about what you're doing every day. And actually, I feel like you get more respect for those businesses you've worked for in the past too, that you might have crapped all over while you were working for them because you see how hard it actually is to manage a business, let alone manage a business with multiple employees, keeping everybody happy. Especially nowadays, it just seems like it's everybody can get worked up over the smallest things in an office setting or a warehouse or any kind of setting, like just not getting along with one another. That's why I love co-working spaces so much is the drama is usually only between the workers that work for the same company. But when you have multiple different companies working in one place, everybody gets along. It's very, it's not that toxic work environment that most offices have, and that's why I think the corporate offices, why people are so stuck to, now that since COVID, being sent home to do the remote work, why they're so like hesitant to come back to the office is because they're going back to that corporate toxic office. That's why I feel like these are perfect for anybody that is like they're okay with remote working but still like separating the two, the home from work. These are perfect because you don't have that office drama that that will always happen no matter what business you have. If you have multiple employees, everybody's not going to get perfectly along. It's just plain and simple. That's just how life works. It can still function, it still can work out, but being a small business owner trying to figure that out and pleasing everybody is so difficult. I know you know that from staffing people. It's extremely difficult to make everybody happy.
Oh, absolutely. And the biggest thing I think, especially when you're trying to manage the expectations of everyone, as well as being able to show people more of the why behind the way businesses function as well. Because when people understand why a business may have certain policies or why someone's doing something the way that they're doing it, one, it opens up a much better dialogue between those people. Um, I think one of the amazing things about the co-working side of things is that everyone is very quick to share their whys and how they do that stuff. And I think a lot of that approach should be brought to traditional businesses, understanding and being able to explain the whys, but then understanding, hey, maybe the why is we've always done it that way, and that's not a good enough why. So
Mm,
let's change how that process works, or change how we're going to interact with each other around these things that cause that friction in a workplace. Um, but then also understanding and trying to build a culture and cultivate a culture where people can be accountable for mistakes, accountable for their things that they've been doing that may have been because of a why that may have been a misinformed why.
yeah.
And I think a lot of businesses stumble around that, and it's really rare to see. But when you have a lot of individuals and small businesses out of a co-working space, a lot more people are open and sharing that outside of their own business, or in their own business with each other, B2B kind of,
Mm,
that it cultivates those experiences where everyone is, or cultivates an environment where everyone's more comfortable owning not just their wins, but owning their losses and being able to share those losses, and also being able to share their whys. And I think a lot more businesses should be able to have those conversations openly within their walls, even if they're not using co-working.
yeah.
Um, and really, a lot of that collaboration, it just comes down to changing the culture within a business.
Yeah, it's not always right if it's been done a certain way forever, especially if evolution happens and things get easier and things get more practical. But if certain people have done it for long periods of time, you'll have that you'll have that problem right now where if a company's been established for quite a long time, they have workers that might be close to retirement age who have done it as such a way for 30 plus years, and everything's changing and they're about to retire, and they're trying to train somebody who actually is like modernized to how things work, and they're trying to be trained by the person who like is doing it completely wrong, and it can be a complete headache for both parties involved. But it's that just being stuck on one thing and how it can destroy a business. But at the same time, I find the bigger the company grows, the less hands the manager or the owner or whatever has on everything, that they don't even know that these things are being done in a way that's not practical, and how much if it's changed, and it does, they look into it every few years on how they can do things better, because it could have been perfect 2 years ago how to do something. Guaranteed you by now there's something better. That doesn't It's like everything in life.
Exactly. And I think the conversation of why come can alleviate a lot of the friction there, between, like, especially when you see like a process that's been in a business for 20 years, the why could have been valid and well informed 20 years
Yeah.
ago, but the why may not be the best motivator or reason to do that if it's 20 years down the line and there's new technology or a new way that things can be applied. But then also understanding too that maybe you have to stick with that process from 20 years ago because end of life for the product that needs that is a year out. So it doesn't make sense to spend 6 months reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
But that being able to articulate that and explain that to stakeholders involved, whether it's employees or consultants looking at the business, is um, important to have those dialogues so that that everyone kind of understands why the business is doing what they do in those situations and where improvements can actually be made to reduce that sort of friction.
Yeah, it's 100%. We'll get back to these right now because I definitely want to just keep promoting these guys. You're a passionate cyclist. Is that something you've always been passionate about?
Yeah, so growing up in a small town in Ontario, you kind of get uh, hooked on your bike very early because your bike is freedom before you have your driver's license, right? So uh, with that, it's as soon as you can basically ride your bike down the street, you are riding your bike down the street to your friends' houses, to go on adventures through the woods, to ride your bike from your small town into big cities where you probably shouldn't be riding that far from home at that age. So cycling's always been that like big part of freedom and being able to get away and out of like the day-to-day grind all kind of through my life. Like there's been phases where, of course, for a few years you step away a little bit. Um, and then I really wasn't that into biking for quite a while, especially through the years where I started driving and having my driver's license,
Yeah.
right? You turn 16. Why take your bike when you can take your car? Especially in Ontario, where in southern Ontario, there wasn't as healthy of a trail network and healthy of an outdoor good sporting scene as there is today. Um, so it really started to fall off the radar, and then you get busy with trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, and then you've got other distractions, and next thing you know, you go to post-secondary, and that's a whole nother learning curve where you've got so many other things on your plate that I fell away from cycling for a few years, and then I was going to move to Whistler after visiting my dad after I had graduated from college. Went to go visit him, came back to my industrial IT job, sat down in a factory, and went, "Why did I take the flight back to Ontario? Like I should have just stayed in Whistler." Um, and moving to Whistler, I didn't think I was going to get back into riding. Either I was like, nope, not going to buy a bike. It's going to be too dangerous. I'm just going to hurt myself. Next thing I know, I moved to Whistler and I'm back into
Yeah.
biking and owning multiple bikes and really back into reaping all the benefits that cycling had to offer um, through the amazing public trail networks that they have in Whistler, and also the other things that like downhill biking in the bike park. Like it really was the right place to commute to work on a bike,
Yeah.
ride a bike for your to the park for hanging out at the park, ride a bike on a cross country trail for just a cruisy, engaging ride, or take your bike into the bike park for when you want to let loose and get the adrenaline pumping.
Mm.
Um, and and with that, like it really my love for it, and then also the headache of everyone is so concerned about their bike, and myself included. And like growing up, I had a bike stolen. It wasn't a very important bike because I got it for free,
Mm.
but it was still like, damn, this sucks
Yeah.
when my bike got stolen. And then in Whistler, it was people's bikes would get stolen and then they couldn't come ride with you.
Mm.
And cycling's a very social thing. So to be able to hit up friends and find out that they don't even have a bike anymore and that their bike costs thousands of
Yeah.
dollars and that there there's no way that they could afford in some cases to buy a new bike right away. You see people leave the scene, and that's no fun at all either. So that's where we really wanted to try to help solve that problem around missing bikes.
Oh yeah, it's a one thing if you lose your Walmart bike that you bought for your kid or yourself. But if you're up at Whistler and one of those downhill bikes that they've spent thousands on building up, that gets stolen, that's losing a inexpensive car, but it's still like losing a car. So it's definitely a different realm, and that's why this is such a brilliant product, and that's probably why it hit you so hard, the idea up in Whistler, because yeah, like you're dealing with like basically people living in this beautiful town, but a lot of them working like part-time jobs, multiple of them, to basically live out their passions, which is biking in the summer and skiing, snowboarding in the winter. And they do that because it's the lifestyle. It doesn't matter if it's not paying them super great. This is why they do it, to pay for that extravagant bike. So coming up with this idea makes a total ton of sense up there, because like you're losing basically an investment and not just a present, if that makes sense.
Exactly. So there's always that monetary factor, but then also if your whole friend group is the community of riding,
Yeah.
then you lose that whole social side of things. For some people, they ride their bike to work, so then you've lost your transit.
Yeah.
So you've really lost a tool that uh, is instrumental in a lot of pieces of people's lives. Um, and looking at what was out there at the time for being able to track your bike, there's always been GPS solutions on the market. They've always been big. They've always needed to be recharged very often with short battery lives, and they've always cost at least $100 or more, and then the total cost of ownership, they cost 10 to 20 to $30 a month to just be able to use. And I think bike security as a whole should be looked at, all of the layers of it working together to make sure that you feel protected and that you are protected. So if you're spending all of your money and spending $300 over or $400 over 2 to 3 years on your bike tracker, you're probably better off buying insurance with that money. And that's why we're at that cost point of that we are that under $50 price point with no subscription fee, over a year of battery life. We just wanted to make it really easy for people so that every bike can have a BikeBac tracker, and that the monetary side of things isn't what's holding people back from being able to track their bikes, but that they're also there to be able to allocate funding to the other layers. So the first one, of course, I like to say is like the behavioral layer, right? Like be smart with your bike. Always lock it up. Always make sure that if you're locking it to something, that the rack is bolted to the ground or the street sign is bolted securely. Um, don't be taking your fancy downhill bike to do a commuter type activity. Take your commuter bike that's cheap and ugly looking to go and do that, right? How do you make your bike look like the least desirable bike to take on the rack? So there's that free behavioral layer that I think everyone should be adopting. But then going down from there, you've got things like like physical security, like how are you going to prevent people from taking the bike? So with that, that's where you've got your locks. So, well, now if you spend all your money on the most expensive, heaviest lock and you don't bring it with you because it's too big and heavy, like Like think about where and how and you use your bike to make sure you're buying the right lock so that you've got that physical security. Maybe if you're leaving your bike at a train station all day because you've rode to the train station to commute, maybe consider investing in security hardware so that people can't take the parts off of your bike,
Yeah.
right? So there's stuff like hex lock, which are basically security keys for the bolts on your bike, so people can't just take parts off your bike. Then you've got the tracking side of things that we help with. So you've got the ability to track your bike. So that's your third layer there. Then you've got more systemic and registration type products like Project 529, a bike registry that when you register your bike, it coaches you on building that proof of ownership so that if your bike does go missing or get stolen, you've got all of the details on your bike. It's kind of like an Amber Alert for your bike, whereas
Yeah.
Where More, you get to track your bike and figure out where it is. With bike registries, when you're signed up to them, you get to mark your bike as missing, and participating police stations, like every police station in BC uses Project 529. They get an Amber Alert essentially for your bike when you mark it as missing, as well as their community of users as well. Um, then you've got the final piece, which is the insurance piece, right? So if from everything fails that you couldn't apply behavior to keep your bike secure or it wasn't enough, your lock wasn't the right lock for the situation, your you didn't have or didn't have a tracker on your bike, it wasn't registered, uh, then you've got that insurance piece. And with everything working together, like you should be able to be made whole. But with insurance, a lot of people think, oh, my house insurance is going to be enough to cover it. And in most situations, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Like people aren't made whole after this. And even though they get a few $100s back for their few $1,000 bike, there's still a huge gap there. So making sure that people understand with that final layer, okay, how am I, like, if you can't afford a dedicated bike policy, that's fine. But understanding if my bike goes missing and I have to file an insurance claim, what does that actually look like? What's the timeline for that? What is the process that you need to follow in order to be able to file that claim? Do you need a police report? Do other things being factored in reduce your premiums? If you make a claim, do your premiums go up?
They do.
That's the thing. Whereas there's a lot of bike specific insurance options out there that you pay for your 3-year term, and it could be amortized monthly or just at the beginning that you pay it out lump sum. Um, but for the 3 years, your insurance policy price doesn't change.
Yeah.
And then you've bought exactly the insurance that you need to cover the value of your bike. Obviously, if your bike gets stolen, you're making a claim with insurance, you're not getting your own bicycle back. That's ideally what all the other layers are for. But at least you're getting, you're in a situation that you're able to go and get a replacement and be made whole in those situations. So it's really about picking and making the right decisions on every single layer, because together they work together to make sure that you're made whole and are actually protected. With just one, it would be like getting in your car to drive somewhere and saying that you don't need your seatbelt because you got airbags.
Yeah, or putting a club on your steering wheel with all the windows down and a bunch of like electronics in the dashboard and wondering why you got broken into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or leaving your front door unlocked on your house because you got insurance.
Yeah.
Like everyone would look at you like you're crazy if you did only one in any other facet of your life. So we really want to encourage people to adopt multiple layers, us being ideally one of those layers, of course, but it isn't just a one product solution to the problem.
It's a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's awesome, man. I definitely like I've always just saw your drive and your hustle and just like thought it was a brilliant idea. Obviously, I enjoy talking to you too, like just around the space. Amazing to be around and just an amazing part of this community. I want people to be able to find this. So whether it be your website, socials, or just even stores that these have been put into so far, definitely. I know you're doing worldwide shipping, so like we're kind of a localized podcast, but still, it'd be awesome if this was big local as well, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So people can buy these on our website at bikebac.com. We're also available on Amazon for the people that just want to buy off Amazon and have it show up in a few days. And then we're in about 60 retailers worldwide. So if you want to go and support your local bike shop, get on our website. We have a retailer locator right there and be able to go and find the tracker at your local bike shop. There's a few benefits to using your local bike shop. If you're buying one tracker from us, we got to charge you shipping. But if you're buying it from your bike shop, there's no shipping involved.
yeah,
So, and we really see local bike shops as being an instrumental piece in the whole equation as well, because when your bike breaks or your bike gets stolen or you buy a new bike, they're the ones that can help show you all those layers and guide you through solving the problem overall. So, any of those places, if you just want to follow us and see what we're doing and stay updated with us, we do have an email list that you'll be prompted to join when you go to our website. But you can also follow us on social media at Get Your Bike Back, with no K at the end of back. Not there is a K in bike. Yeah, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and those platforms.
amazing. I mean, like the bike shops, that's their niche. That's what they're passionate about. So obviously, I think those ones, as much as you would love to put your product in those big chain stores or just like sporting goods stores that are all different kinds of sports. The bike shops are going to be the ones that are really know the products and know the industry. So when you're going in there and they're, like you said, piecing those puzzles together of how to keep your stuff safe, you're going to get better service no matter what. Just because that's their love for the most part, and usually it's a small staff too. That could be a family, could be just a group of friends that run these businesses that they're going to help out your business. Like basically how great these things are for the industry and for keeping bikes safe. Another thing, like an idea that I pop in my head, be awesome to partner with a bike company that puts them in them instantly.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been exploring some partnerships around that as well, because with us integrating with bike brands right off the shelf, one, we save them time and money because they don't have to go and jump through all the hoops of getting Apple certified themselves.
Yeah.
But then we're also working on the Android side of the house as well. So we will be able to have a product for both of their customer base that if they build an integration with us and they're bundling the product, they can make sure that they're bundling the right product for the customer that has the right bicycle and the right device to be able to use it. So instead of them having to go and figure out how to get a whole bicycle certified by Apple to use the Find My network and build all the electronics themselves and hire all the software engineers and hardware designers to make it, integrating with us helps them get tracking on their bikes into their customers' hands, and will help alleviate both sides of the house on the Android side that we're working on, and also the current Apple side.
No, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for being on today. I appreciate it. It's been great conversation. I'd love to have you on longer. He's supposed to be cut off at 30 minutes. I think we probably went over that. I could talk to you more and more. I just like I enjoy conversation with you, no matter what it's about. I feel like you're super fun to be around and just passionate and just I think you're super intelligent dude. So this product, I just see it growing and growing. I've already seen it grow since we've been here. Just and keep going, man. It's amazing. I love seeing ideas flourish and ideas like you said in a year how far it's come. is huge. So I just see big things for you, man. It's amazing.
I appreciate that. And all the support that TFN at Site B has been able to provide, we wouldn't be where we are without that, and the community behind it. So a huge amount of gratitude towards that as well.
I appreciate that, man, and I appreciate all of you listening or watching today. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, as well as like and comment on anything that we post from this podcast, because that helps out the podcast, it helps out the brand for promoting, it helps out everybody involved in this podcast. So thank you, subscribe now, and have a good one.